Humanity slept for 20,000 years. Until their ghost ship returned. Part 1. The silence. The galaxy was quiet now. Where humans once lived and worked, only empty space remained. 20,000 years had passed since the last human voice spoke across the stars. 20,000 years since their ships had vanished into darkness, Commander. Drake of the Vorthok Deep Survey Corps floated through the old debris field. His crystal body caught the light from distant stars as he moved between broken metal and twisted hull pieces. This place had once been humanity's greatest shipyard. Now, it was just another graveyard in space. The Vorthok had risen after humanity fell. So had the Namari and the Kelron. These three races now ruled the galaxy that humans had once tried to claim. They built their cities on human ruins. They learned from human mistakes. They told stories about the dangerous species that had tried to break the laws of physics. Another dead system, said Officer Kane from her station. Her crystal form glowed soft blue as she read the scanner results. The radiation is the same as all the others. Whatever the humans did, they did it everywhere at once. Drake nodded. The official history books called it the Great Collapse. Humans had tried to travel faster than light. They had pushed too hard and broken something fundamental in the universe. The explosion had destroyed their entire civilization in one terrible moment. "Look at this," Kane said, pointing to a piece of debris. The metal was old and scarred, but still readable. Human writing covered one side. The translation program worked slowly to decode the ancient script. U.S. Meridian Deep Range Explorer Kane read aloud. Another exploration ship. They really thought they could go anywhere. Drake had studied humans for most of his long life. They fascinated him. Other species looked at the vast distances between stars and accepted them. Humans looked at the same distances and saw problems to solve. While other races built careful, slow ships, humans dreamed of breaking the speed of light itself. The humans had been builders. They made things that shouldn't work. They went places that were supposed to be impossible to reach, asked questions that other species were afraid to ask. Most importantly, they never gave up. Even when physics said no, humans kept trying. That stubborn nature had made them powerful. Human colonies spread across hundreds of worlds, or trade ships connected, distant systems. Their exploration vessels pushed into the unknown regions beyond the galaxy's edge. For a brief moment in cosmic history, it looked like humans might unite the entire galaxy under their banner. But that same stubborn nature had also destroyed them. The debris field told the story. Broken ships floated in patterns that showed a massive explosion, not from weapons or accidents, but from space itself tearing apart. The humans had built a faster-than-light drive that worked by bending reality. When it failed, reality snapped back like a broken rubber band. The energy readings are still high after all this time, Kane reported. Whatever they did here, it left scars that haven't healed. Drake moved closer to examine a large piece of hull. The metal was twisted in impossible ways. Parts of it seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. This was what happened when humans tried to remake the universe to fit their needs. The three species that inherited the galaxy had learned from humanity's mistakes. The Vorthok used careful, tested technology. The Namori built ships that took generations to travel between stars but always arrived safely. The Kelron created AI systems that calculated every possible risk before taking action. None of them tried to go faster than light. The lesson of humanity's fall was clear. Some barriers were meant to remain unbroken. Drake had visited dozens of former human worlds. Most were lifeless now, their atmospheres burned away by the same force that destroyed the shipyards. A few still had ruins, cities that had once held millions, now empty and slowly crumbling. The radiation would fade eventually. It would take millions of years. Sometimes Drake wondered what humans would think of the galaxy now. The three species lived in peace. Wars were rare and small. Trade flowed freely between systems. Art and science flourished. It was everything humans had claimed to want when they first reached for the stars. But it was also slow, careful, limited. "We should catalog this section and move on," Kane suggested. "There's nothing here that we haven't seen before," Drake agreed. But he lingered for a moment. A piece of debris caught his attention. It was smaller than the others, but something about it seemed different. The metal was the same twisted, reality-scarred material, but the writing on it was fresh. It's not 20,000 years old, but recent. He moved closer and felt his crystal body grow cold. The writing was in perfect Vorthok script, not human language. But it said something that made no sense. They are coming back. Drake stared at the message for a long time. It had to be some kind of mistake, translator error, or a reflection from his own equipment. Humans were extinct. They had been dead. For 20,000 years? Dead species didn't come back. But as he floated there in the graveyard of human ambition, Drake felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not of the radiation or the twisted metal, but of a possibility that the careful, peaceful galaxy might not stay that way forever. The three species had built their civilizations on the assumption that humans were gone. Their technology, their politics, their entire way of life was based on the idea that the dangerous, ambitious humans would never return. What would happen if that assumption was wrong? Drake ordered the survey team to pack up and leave. As their ship moved away from the debris field, he kept looking back. The twisted metal and broken dreams of humanity faded into the darkness, but the fear stayed with him, in the depths of space. Among the ruins of the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known, something that looked like a message waited for someone to read it. But Drake was already too far away to see the faint energy signature that pulsed through the debris like a heartbeat. The galaxy was quiet now. But silence had a way of ending when you least expected it. Far beyond the edge of known space, in a region where stars were young and planets were still forming, something massive moved through the darkness. It had been moving for a very long time, following paths that existed outside normal space. Its destination was a small, unremarkable system that had once been home to a species that refused to accept limitations. The journey was almost over. Soon, the silence would break, but for now, the galaxy slept peacefully, unaware that the children of humanity were finally coming home. Humanity slept for 20,000 years, till their ghost ship returned Part 2. The return the alarm systems at Monitor Station 7 had been quiet for 300 years. Captain Bell of the Kelran Defense Force had never heard them make a sound. His mechanical body was designed for patience, but even he was surprised when every sensor in the station suddenly screamed to life. "What is happening?" asked his second officer, Unit 9. The AI's voice carried confusion, an emotion that Kelran rarely experienced. "Unknown contact," Bell reported, his metal fingers dancing across control panels. Something big just appeared in Sector 12. Very big. The screen showed impossible readings. A massive gravity signature had appeared from nowhere. Space itself seemed to bend around something that hadn't been there moments before. Then the sensors detected it, a ship emerging from what looked like folded space. "Run identification scans," Bell ordered. "Scanning now," Unit 9 replied. A long pause followed. "Captain, this makes no sense. The ship design matches archived human specifications. But that's impossible." Bell's optical sensors focused on the main display. The vessel was enormous, easily 10 times larger than the biggest Kelran battleship. Its hull was dark and scarred, marked by what looked like thousands of years of damage. Meteor impacts had left craters across its surface. Radiation burns created strange patterns on the metal. The whole ship looked ancient beyond measure, but it was definitely human design. The angular hull shape, the placement of what might be weapon systems, even the size. Everything matched the old records from before the Great Collapse. "How old is that thing?" Bell wondered aloud. Unit 9 processed data streams for several minutes. Hull composition analysis suggests construction approximately 20,000 years ago. This ship is from the late human period, possibly built just before their civilization ended. Massive vessel hung motionless in space. No energy signatures came from its engines. No communication signals reached the monitoring station. No light showed through what might be windows. It looked completely dead, but something had brought it here. "Contact Fleet Command," Bell ordered. "Tell them we have a situation that requires immediate attention within hours. Ships from all three major civilizations were heading toward the mysterious vessel. Admiral Ross of the Namari diplomatic fleet arrived first, her gas-formed ship shimmering with curiosity. Commander Drake of the Vorthok Survey Corps followed, bringing the galaxy's best experts on human technology. The Kelrons sent their finest analysis units and enough firepower to destroy a small planet. They all maintained a safe distance and watched. "It's just sitting there," reported Dr. West, the Vorthok's leading specialist in dead civilizations. "No power signatures, no movement, nothing. It looks like a derelict that finally completed whatever journey it started 20,000 years ago." Admiral Ross wasn't convinced. Her species had evolved to read subtle energy patterns, and something about this ship felt wrong. Not dangerous exactly, but not truly dead either. "There are faint power readings deep inside the hull," she reported to the assembled fleet commanders. "Very faint, but they exist. Something is still functioning on that ship." The vessel was unlike anything in current galactic databases. It was too big to be a warship, too heavily armed to be a colony transport, and too complex to be just an exploration vessel. The hull contained sections that looked like manufacturing facilities, areas that might be research laboratories, and vast spaces that could hold thousands of beings. "It's everything," Dr. West realized after hours of analysis.
Factory laboratory.
Colony ship and fortress all in one. The humans built this thing to be completely self-sufficient. Commander Drake studied the hull markings through powerful telescopes. Most of the human writing was too damaged to read, but he could make out parts of what might be the ship's name. "I can see Endurance near what looks like the main command section," he reported. "That fits with human naming patterns. They liked to give their ships names that suggested determination. The Endurance hung in space like a monument to human ambition. Every species in the galaxy knew the story of humanity's fall. They had tried to break the speed of light and broken themselves instead. Their entire civilization had collapsed in a single moment when their experiments went wrong. But here was proof that at least one human ship had survived. "The question is whether anyone is still alive inside," Admiral Ross said during a command conference. Representatives from all three species appeared on screens around her command center. "It's possible," declared Dr. West. "No life support system could function for 20,000 years. Even if humans were inside when the ship was built, they would be long dead by now." Unit 9 disagreed. "Kelron technology could theoretically maintain life support for extended periods. Humans had similar capabilities. Survival might be possible, but 20,000 years?" Drake asked. "That's not extended hibernation. That's geological time." The debate continued for days, while the Endurance remained motionless. Long-range scans revealed more details about its construction. The hull was made of materials that didn't exist in current technology databases. The power systems used principles that the galaxy's best scientists couldn't understand. Even the ship's basic design incorporated concepts that were beyond current engineering knowledge. "They were more advanced than we thought," Admiral Ross admitted privately. "Much more advanced." Implications were troubling. The three species had built their civilizations on the assumption that human technology was powerful but flawed. The Great Collapse proved that humans had pushed too far too fast. Their destruction had been a lesson for everyone else about the dangers of unchecked ambition. But what if human technology wasn't flawed? What if they had simply made one mistake in an otherwise successful program of advancement? The Endurance was evidence that humans had built things that lasted, things that worked, things that might still be working after 20 millennia of travel through the void. "We need to make contact," Admiral Ross decided. "If there's anyone alive on that ship, we need to know what they want." The other commanders agreed, though none of them felt comfortable with the decision. First contact protocols existed for meeting new species, but no one had ever written procedures for greeting the dead. A joint diplomatic mission was assembled. Representatives from all three species would approach the Endurance together. They would try to establish communication and determine whether the ship posed any threat to galactic security. As the diplomatic vessels moved toward the ancient human ship, sensors detected the first sign of activity since its arrival. A low frequency pulse emerged from the Endurance's hull, repeated every few seconds like a heartbeat. "It knows we're coming," whispered Dr. West. The pulse grew stronger as the diplomatic ships drew closer. Deep inside the Endurance systems that had slept for 20,000 years began to wake up. Lights flickered in corridors that had been dark for longer than recorded history. Computers that held the memories of a dead civilization started processing information again. And in chambers throughout the massive ship, beings who had once called themselves human began to stir. Humanity slept for 20,000 years, until their ghost ship returned Part 3. The awakening, the pulse from the Endurance, changed everything. What had been a slow, steady heartbeat became a complex pattern of signals. The 3 alien fleets watching, from a safe distance, recorded every transmission. But none of their computers could decode the meaning. Deep inside the massive human ship, Dr. Lisa Gray opened her eyes for the first time in 20,000 years. Her body felt strange, as if she had been sleeping for a very long time, which, she realized slowly, was exactly what had happened. Memory came back in pieces. The great collapse, the desperate plan, the long sleep that was supposed to last until the universe healed itself from what humanity had broken. "Status report," she whispered, her voice barely working after so long. "Welcome back, Dr. Gray," replied a familiar voice. It was Max, the ship's artificial intelligence. "All primary systems are functioning normally. The long sleep protocol was successful." Lisa sat up slowly, her muscles weak from the extended hibernation. Around her, thousands of other sleep chambers were beginning to open. The soft hiss of releasing air filled the vast hibernation bay as her fellow humans started to wake up.
"How long?"
she asked, though she already feared the answer. 20,147 years. 6 months and 12 days, Max replied with typical AI precision. "We have arrived at our destination as planned." 20,000 years. Lisa felt the weight of all that time. Everyone she had known before the sleep was dead. Every civilization that had existed when humanity fell was gone. The galaxy had moved on without them. What about the others? How many survived the journey? 47,238 humans are successfully awakening. From hibernation, Max reported. "We lost 12% to various system failures over the centuries, but the majority of our people are healthy and functional." Lisa stood up carefully, testing her balance. The artificial gravity felt exactly as she remembered. The walls, the lights, the familiar hum of the ship's systems, everything was the same. Only the time was different. "Show me what's outside." She ordered a wall display activated, showing the 3 alien fleets maintaining their careful distance from the Endurance. The ships were unfamiliar designs, but clearly advanced. Whoever had inherited the galaxy after humanity's fall had built impressive technology. "Analysis of the external vessels suggests 3 distinct civilizations," Max continued. "Their technology appears to be approximately equivalent to late-period human science. Though they use different approaches to faster-than-light travel, Lisa studied the ships with professional interest. They were well-designed and obviously built by intelligent species, but they were also clearly defensive, arranged in formations that suggested caution rather than aggression. "They're afraid of us," she realized. "That assessment appears correct," Max agreed. "They are maintaining what their military doctrine would consider a safe distance. Their communications indicate significant debate about our nature and intentions." Other humans were beginning to move through the ship now. Lisa could hear voices in the corridors as people rediscovered their surroundings. Engineers were checking systems. Scientists were reviewing data. Soldiers were securing key areas. The Endurance was coming alive again. Captain Jack Stone was among the first to reach the command center. He had been the ship's military commander. When they entered hibernation, and he looked ready to resume that role immediately, "What's our tactical situation?" I asked as soon as he saw Lisa. 3 alien fleets, approximately 200 ships total," she replied. "They appear to be studying us rather than preparing for attack." "Good. That gives us time to assess the situation properly." Stone moved to a command console and began reviewing the external sensor data. Max, give me a full analysis of their capabilities. The alien vessels use conventional faster-than-light drives, Max reported. Their maximum speed appears to be approximately 50 times the speed of light. Our weapon systems are energy-based, similar to our own designs, but less efficient. Their defensive systems rely on projected energy fields rather than physical armor. Lisa smiled. The aliens had advanced, but not beyond what humanity had achieved before the Great Collapse. In some ways, they had actually fallen behind. What about their numbers? Stone asked. Current intelligence suggests that 3 civilizations control approximately 15,000 star systems between them, Max replied. Total population estimates range from 2 to 3 trillion individuals. The scale was impressive, but not overwhelming. Humanity had controlled nearly as many systems before. Their civilization collapsed with their technology advantage. 47,000 humans aboard the Endurance could potentially challenge any of the 3 species. But that wasn't why they were here. Max, prepare a first contact protocol, Lisa ordered. We need to establish communication with these people. What approach do you recommend? The AI asked. Lisa considered the options. The aliens were clearly nervous about humanity's return. They had built their civilizations in the empty spaces left by human collapse. The last thing she wanted was to start a war before they had even introduced themselves.
Diplomatic, she
decided, we'll present ourselves as explorers returning from a long journey. No need to mention that we've been sleeping for 20,000 years or that we represent the species they probably think is extinct. Stone looked skeptical. They're going to figure it out eventually. This ship is obviously human design, and there's no way to hide our technology advantage. Eventually, yes, Lisa agreed. But first contact should be as non-threatening as possible. We need to understand what kind of galaxy we've returned to. The Endurance had been humanity's greatest achievement and their last desperate gamble. When their experiments with faster-than-light travel had begun tearing holes in reality itself, they had faced a choice. They could fight the catastrophe and probably lose everything, or they could preserve what they could and wait for time to heal the damage. They had chosen to wait. 50,000 of humanity's best and brightest had entered hibernation aboard the Endurance, while automated systems guided the ship beyond the galaxy's edge. The plan was to sleep until the space-time damage healed, then return to rebuild their civilization. The plan had worked. But the galaxy they returned to was very different from the one they had left. Incoming transmission, Max announced. The alien fleets are attempting to establish communication. Lisa straightened her uniform and prepared to make history. First contact with alien civilizations was something humans had dreamed about for thousands of years. The irony was that they were now the aliens, returning to a galaxy that had moved on without them. Put them through, she ordered. The main display showed 3 different beings, clearly representing the 3 civilizations. They looked nervous but determined. Behind them, Lisa could see the bridge of their respective ships, all of them clearly designed by intelligent technological species. This is Dr. Lisa Gray of the human vessel Endurance, she began, speaking slowly and clearly. We are explorers returning from a long journey beyond the galaxy. We seek peaceful contact and mutual understanding, the response would determine. Whether humanity's return marked the beginning of a new golden age or the start of another war. Humanity slept for 20,000 years, till their ghost ship returned. Part 4. The Recognition Admiral. Ross felt her gas-formed body shift with anxiety as she stared at the transmission from the human ship. The being on the screen looked exactly like the extinct species from ancient records. 2 arms, 2 legs, symmetrical face, bipedal stance, everything matched perfectly. But humans had been dead for 20,000 years. This is impossible, Commander Drake whispered from his own ship. His crystal body flickered with confusion as he processed what he was seeing. Humans cannot exist. We have proof of their extinction. Captain Bell of the Kelron fleet ran calculations. Through his mechanical mind, every probability analysis said the same thing. The chance of human survival was essentially zero. Yet here was clear evidence to the contrary. Perhaps they are not the original humans, Unit 9 suggested. Could another species have evolved to look like them? The three fleet commanders maintained their positions while their best scientists analyzed every detail of the transmission. The language patterns, the facial expressions, even the way the human moved, everything suggested authenticity. Dr. West, the Vorthok expert on dead civilizations, was the first to accept the truth. The genetic markers match archived human samples. He reported, DNA analysis of skin cells detected in the transmission confirms it. These are real humans. The implications hit the three civilizations like a shockwave. Everything they thought they knew about galactic history was wrong. Humans hadn't died in the Great Collapse. They had survived somehow. We need to respond, Admiral Ross decided, but carefully. If these really are humans, then we're dealing with the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever known.
Ow.
The response came 12 hours later. It was a formal diplomatic message, perfectly translated into all three major languages. The translation. Quality was so good that it suggested not just advanced computers, but deep cultural understanding. Greetings to the children of the new galaxy, the message began. We are the crew of the UES Endurance, representing the human species. We have returned from a long journey and seek to establish peaceful relations with the civilizations that have risen in our absence. We request formal diplomatic contact to discuss terms of mutual cooperation and understanding. The message was polite, professional, and absolutely terrifying. The children of the new galaxy, Drake repeated. They're talking about us like we're young species that grew up after they left. Which is exactly what we are, Admiral Ross realized. All three of our civilizations developed after the Great Collapse. From their perspective, we really are the children who inherited their galaxy. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session within days. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss the crisis. The three major civilizations controlled the meeting, but every voice was heard. Cannot trust them, declared Speaker 9 of the Kelron Assembly. Humans destroyed themselves through reckless experimentation. If they have survived, they will repeat the same mistakes. But they are offering peaceful contact, countered Admiral Ross. They could have attacked us immediately if they meant harm. Instead, they are following diplomatic protocols. Commander Drake had spent weeks analyzing the human ship. Results were disturbing. Their technology is far beyond ours, he reported to the Assembly. The Endurance uses principles we don't understand. Its power systems, its construction materials. Even its basic design, everything is centuries ahead of our current capabilities. The debate continued for months. Some species wanted to welcome the humans back. Others demanded that they leave. Immediately. Few suggested trying to destroy them before they could become a threat. But the humans waited patiently. They answered questions when asked. They provided technical data when requested. They even allowed small diplomatic teams too. Visit their ship. Dr. Lisa Gray met the first alien visitors in a conference room that could have held a small city. The scale of human architecture was overwhelming to species that built more modestly. Everything about the Endurance suggested a civilization that thought in terms of vast projects and unlimited resources. Welcome aboard, Lisa said simply. Have much to discuss. The alien diplomats were nervous, but professional. They asked careful questions about human intentions, human technology, and human plans for the future. Lisa answered honestly, though she didn't reveal everything. We are explorers, she explained. 20,000 years ago, our civilization faced a crisis. We chose to leave rather than fight, to let time heal the damage we had caused. Now, we have returned to see what the galaxy has become. And what do you think of what you have found? Asked Ambassador Kale of the Namori Diplomatic Corps. Lisa smiled. You have built something remarkable. 3 civilizations working together, maintaining peace across thousands of systems. It's impressive, but not impressive enough. Drake asked, reading the subtext in her words. You have built well, Lisa said diplomatically. But you have built small, careful, safe. You learned from our mistakes, but perhaps you learned too well. The aliens understood the implication. Civilizations were stable, but limited. They had achieved peace by avoiding the kind of ambitious projects that had destroyed humanity, but they had also avoided the kind of progress that could make them truly great. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Ross asked directly. "Cooperation," Lisa replied. "We have technology you need. You have knowledge we lack. Together we could achieve things that neither of us could accomplish alone." Over the following weeks, the aliens learned more about what the humans were offering. Medical technology that could extend lifespans by centuries, manufacturing systems that could transform asteroids into garden worlds, computing power that made their best artificial intelligences look like simple calculators. Most importantly, the humans had perfected faster than light travel. It's not the careful, limited systems the three civilizations used, but true mastery over space and time itself. "They're not just offering to share technology," Dr. West reported to the council. "They're offering to transform our entire way of life." The offer was tempting, but it came with risks. Accepting human help would mean acknowledging human superiority. It would change the balance of power that had kept the galaxy stable for thousands of years. "We need more time to consider," Admiral Ross told Lisa during their final meeting before the formal negotiations began. Of course, Lisa agreed. "But understand that time is something we have learned to use wisely. We can wait. We have waited 20,000 years already. We can wait longer if necessary." The human delegation returned to their ship while the three civilizations debated their future. The Endurance continued to orbit patiently, its massive bulk a reminder of what humanity had once achieved and might achieve again. Inside the ship, the humans prepared for whatever decision the galaxy made. They had returned as explorers and diplomats. But they were also prepared to be conquerors if diplomacy failed. The galaxy would never be the same. The only question was whether the change would come through cooperation or conflict. Humanity slept for 20,000 years, till their ghost ship returned Part 5. The reckoning the negotiations lasted 8 months. During that time, the galaxy watched in fascination and growing concern as the human ship began to change. What had appeared to be a simple vessel revealed itself to be something far more complex and dangerous. Construction bays that had been sealed for 20,000 years opened like blooming flowers. Manufacturing systems that had slept through the ages came online with quiet efficiency. The Endurance wasn't just a ship, it was a mobile factory. It's capable of building anything its crew needed. Captain Bell watched through his sensors as the first new human vessels emerged from the construction bays. They were sleek, fast, and obviously designed for purposes beyond simple exploration. Within weeks, a small fleet surrounded the massive mothership. "They're not just talking," he reported to the Galactic Council. "They're preparing for something bigger." Dr. Lisa Gray met with the alien negotiators every day. The talks were polite, professional, and completely one-sided. The humans offered technology, knowledge, and partnership. The three civilizations offered nothing except permission to exist in the galaxy they had once ruled. "You must understand our position," Admiral Ross said during one particularly tense session. "Your species disappeared 20,000 years ago. We built our civilizations in the space you left behind. Now you want to return and change everything." "We're not asking you to change everything," Lisa replied calmly. "We're offering to help you become more than you are. And if we refuse..." Elisa's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in her eyes. "Then you continue as you are. Small, careful, limited. That's your choice to make." The implicit threat was clear. Humanity would move forward with or without alien cooperation. The three civilizations could be partners, or they could be obstacles. But they couldn't stop human progress. Commander Drake had been studying human technology for months. His reports to the Council grew more disturbing with each passing week. "They're not just advanced," he explained. "They're operating on completely different principles. Their ships don't follow our understanding of physics. Their computers think in ways we can't comprehend. Their manufacturing systems can create materials that shouldn't exist." The proof came when human ships began appearing throughout the galaxy. Not invasion fleets, but single vessels, offering trade and assistance. They arrived at planets suffering from disease and offered perfect cures. They visited systems struggling with resource shortages and provided unlimited solutions. Every gift came with the same message: humanity has returned to help its younger siblings reach their full potential. The response was overwhelming. Smaller species that had never been fully accepted by the three major civilizations welcomed the humans with open arms. Colonies that had struggled for generations suddenly found themselves prosperous beyond their wildest dreams. "They're buying loyalty," Speaker 9 of the Kelron Assembly complained. "They're using their technology to make themselves indispensable." "Maybe," admitted Admiral Ross. "But they're also solving problems we couldn't solve ourselves." The transformation accelerated. Human medical technology eliminated diseases that had plagued the galaxy for thousands of years. Human manufacturing systems turned barren asteroids into garden worlds within months. Human computers solved scientific problems that had stumped the galaxy's best minds for centuries. But it was the human approach to faster-than-light travel that truly changed everything. While the three civilizations used careful, limited systems that took years to cross the galaxy, human ships moved like thoughts made manifest. They could appear anywhere, anytime, without warning or preparation. "Space itself bends around them," Dr. West reported in amazement. "They're not traveling through space, they're convincing space to bring their destination to them." The political implications were staggering. The three civilizations had maintained their power through control of trade routes and communication networks. Human technology made those advantages meaningless. Why spend months traveling between systems when humans could make the journey in hours? 6 months after the negotiations began, the first human colonies appeared in former alien territory. Not invasions or conquests, but simple settlements on worlds that had been considered worthless. Within weeks, those worthless worlds were producing more resources than entire alien star systems. "They're not taking our worlds," Lisa explained to the increasingly desperate alien negotiators. "They're showing you what those worlds could become." The message was clear. Humanity wasn't interested in conquest through war. They were conquering through demonstration, showing the galaxy what was possible when limitations were removed. The breaking point came when human engineers offered to upgrade the alien home worlds. They could increase agricultural production by 1,000%. They could eliminate pollution and environmental damage. They could extend the lives of every citizen by centuries. All they asked in return was acceptance of human leadership in galactic affairs. "We're not demanding submission," Lisa explained. "We're offering partnership. But partnership requires acknowledgement of who brings what to the relationship." The vote in the Galactic Council was closer than expected, but the result was inevitable. 312 species voted to accept human leadership. Only 47 voted against. Most of those changed their minds when they saw the benefits their neighbors received. The transformation that followed was swift and comprehensive. Human advisors took positions in every major government. Human technology became the standard across all civilizations. Human ships patrolled trade routes that had been considered impossible to defend. Within a generation, the galaxy looked completely different. Diseases that had killed billions were extinct. Poverty was eliminated on thousands of worlds. Travel between the most distant systems took days instead of years. The three major civilizations found themselves in a strange position. They were more prosperous and powerful than ever before, but they were no longer the leaders of galactic civilization. That role had returned to its original owners. "How do you feel about the changes?" Admiral Ross asked Lisa. During a private meeting, years after the formal agreements were signed, Lisa looked out through the viewport at a galaxy that bustled with activity beyond anything the previous civilizations had achieved. Ships moved freely between systems that had once been isolated by distance. Worlds that had been barren now teemed with life. Species that had barely survived now thrived beyond their founders' dreams. "We learned patience during our long sleep," Lisa said. "We learned that the universe is vast enough for everyone to prosper. But we also learned that prosperity requires vision, ambition, and the courage to reach beyond what seems possible. Now we build again. But this time, we build together. Humans provide the vision and technology. We provide the wisdom and caution we sometimes lack. Together, We create something neither of us could achieve alone. The galaxy stretched before them, vast and full of possibilities that previous generations had never dared to imagine. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as gardeners, cultivating a garden of civilizations that could reach heights none of them had dreamed possible. The long sleep was over. The real work was just beginning.